Zita ndinoitwa Marufu. My name is Hilary Marufu, and we are going to proceed with a course called MIS. We had a brief introduction or brief tutorial last time, and we managed to talk about a few things. So we're just probably just going to run through some of them until we get to the business of the day, because I know most of you are now preparing for exam. And those are more kunyanyuda zvekuziva kuti exam uri kufamba sei. Is there anyone who doesn't understand Sean? Anyone who speaks Ndebele or Nyanja or all of these people understand Sean? No, it's fine. It's fine. So, like I said before, we're going to be doing MIS. The basis of MIS is we're trying to manage information. That's the basis. So, you, like we mentioned before, we explained what management is, and we highlighted and hinted on the evolution of data to information, and we basically explained what a system is. Anything that has got an input and an output, when there is a processing part inside. Last time we gave examples of respiratory system, it's a system, digestive system, reproductive system. So basically, like respiratory system, something you inhale air, then your lungs process and absorb that air into your body, and through a process of diffusion or osmosis, I don't know, I don't want to comment, but at the end of the day, you exhale air which has more concentration of carbon dioxide. So that is more of a digestive system. There's an input and there's an output. Same applies with all systems. If you've got a registration system or an academic registry information system, your RS, you put in names of students. At the end of the day, those that whatever you put in your grades and everything, it calculates your degree class and everything. So Mishek Wozo ndiye mumwe kauyo. Wozo nenyaya dzako kaiwo.
Nyaya hadziperi se, ndiye umwe zvoshuwa iye, ndiye umwe wa Omasi.
You guys like it's a bad. All right. So from the last tutorial that we had, we explained what information is, its relevance, accuracy, timeliness, and completeness of information. Those are the characteristics of good information. From there, we explained information as a resource, and I'm sure all of those we highlighted. Then from there, we talked about information of information, change of environments, transformation of industrial economy, then improvement in computer skills. And from there, we have information systems, we gave examples, and we explained the combination of information system based on our definition of information and a system. Then from there, we iterated on management levels, the 3 levels of an organization, namely top management, which is the strategic management, mid level, which is the tactical, and lower level, which is the operation. And this gave us to those pie charts where we're saying every level of management every level of management has a set of goals that it does. So top management, these are your CEOs and your directors. Middle management, those are your managers, and bottom management, those are my supervisors. And each and everyone has different approach to the organization. It depends on the nature of tasks. So the top level, its main goal is for planning. We're planning for 10 years in advance, where we're seeing the organization in 10 years, what we need to do to improve, to get to where we want to get to satisfy our vision and mission. So they've got a lot to do with planning. So that's why even in the pie chart, you discover that the greater chunk of work they do is mainly planning. So it's every level does planning, but theirs it's strategic and it's the how can I put it? It directly affects everyone. So if you're, let's say, last time we were giving an example of a farm, whereby we're saying there's a farm which, unless if you want us to switch to IT things, I don't know. We should stick to IT examples, and are we? Should I stick to my normal cow examples, or I can change?
Let's work with IT.
Okay, that's fine. So let's say we have a company called APC, which does IT, but it specializes. It's got different branches. One branch deals with, let's say, artificial intelligence. The other one is a networking branch, and the other one is, let's say, a hardware branch. And we've got maybe another software branch which develops systems. So on the bottom, you'd have your normal programmers. Those programmers there'll be a guy who will be maybe the chief programmer. Then that chief programmer now is part of the day-to-day runnings of the business. They do the work that involves core business. So in this case, one company will be doing one department is artificial intelligence, the other one is networking, the other one is hardware, the other one is software. So each would have, let's say, that one is programmers and the other one is technicians. Those will be the sorry to use this word, bottom feeders. Those will be on the bottom of the food chain. Then on top of them, of the organogram, the food chain. On top of them, there may be chief technicians and chief programmers or engineers. So the programmers would be reporting to the chief technicians or the supervisor, or depending on the nature of the organization. So when those guys report to those managers, to the engineers and chief technicians, those chief technicians will report to managers. So how this works is, let's say we've got a network department which is in charge of networking, maybe let's say 4 buildings, and one technician or one chief technician is in charge of maybe 5 technicians who will be networking one building. So building number 1 will be maybe having 5 technicians, building number 2, 10 technicians, and those 10 technicians report to one chief technician or one engineer. Then that one engineer, every engineer of those 5 buildings will report to a manager. So the manager now has to oversee how those things are done. So let's suppose that one manager is based in Harare, then the other one is in Bulawayo. And those 2 managers will report to that director. And now you see the aspect whereby it's coming from bottom to middle to top, or those engineers report to manager, a network manager, a hardware manager, a software manager, and an AI manager, and all those managers now report to a director. In some institutions, you'd get middle management directors and top management directors. Middle management directors, this will be your how can I put it, works and transport, or maybe logistics. But on top of those, would have a director who is in charge of those directors. Namely, you'd get your chief executive officer, chief operations officer, chief technical officer, chief security officer, depending on the nature of the organization. So the chief, those big directors, those chiefs, they are in charge of seeing where the organization will be in probably the next 10 to 20 years. So depending on the market, they can choose to open a new department, probably let's say a big data department or a cloud department, cloud computing department. Then until they'll be responding to markets and everything. Then from there, or they could either say we need to cut down on costs, so let's close one department so as to cut down on costs, and they can close even maybe let's say artificial intelligence branch. So they are involved with the decisions that directly affect everyone. But the people that actually do all the work that are core business to say, so to say, are the people on the ground, the programmers and engineers. Those are the hands-on people. So that's why you notice the planning on the top management is bigger, and the planning on the bottom management, because the engineer only plans to fix the network or to install the network for a building. But middle management tells the plans for future projects other than the ones that are being carried out. And in top management, they are now planning to, okay, what do we do to increase our profit? What do we do to cut down on costs? So profits could either be you're cutting down on costs, or you're creating a different and cheaper way of conducting business. So it all depends on, like I said, it depends with the nature of the organization. So remember we said the programmers and the engineers, and they are hands-on people, and they're the ones who do the actual work. That is why they have a greater percentage of the direction, because they know exactly how the things are going to be done. So without every one of these levels is equally important, because one wouldn't function well without the other. So imagine having a company that doesn't know its 5-year plan, that doesn't have vision, that doesn't have a mission. Do you guys know the difference between a vision and a mission? Guys, the difference between vision and mission. Hello, vision and mission, guys. It's vision and mission.
I think a mission is something you want to achieve on a long period of time. Let's say for the next 15 years, that could be the mission. What we want to achieve, like a goal.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I can say a mission is just it's the same way as aim of a business. Maybe in 5 years' time, or
I tend to disagree.
Okay.
Vision is okay. Yes, Tawand. Okay. Okay. Vision is where you find yourself in a certain period. Mission is how you are going to achieve that. Does anyone know the vision for Zoe? Okay, no, that's okay. So vision is where you want to, where you see yourself in the foreseeable future, and mission is how you are going to get there. That's the difference between vision and mission.
Okay.
So vision for Zoe could be to become a world-class university in maybe, yeah, to become a world-class university. That's a vision. Then mission now would be through excellence and quality service provide. Hazvinonyanya siyana, but one is where you want to go and the other one is how you're going to get to where you are going. So look, in terms of even we talked about planning. Top management plans more than the other ones. Organizing, the middle management. No, we talked about direction. Middle management, the bottom management is a bigger chunk of direction. It's got every other because they're hands on and they have to deal with those things. In terms of organization now, the middle management needs to be more organized, need to have a greater chunk of order than any other because they are the bridge between top and bottom. So if there's communication on anything that needs to be transmitted to from or to any other layer, be it the above layer or the bottom layer, they need to be involved. So they need to understand how the bottom management work, and they also need to understand how top management works, and they become the bridge. So there's a great deal of organizing that is done. Uh, in terms of staff, the greater part of staff, 10 people can be managed by one person, and 3 managers could be managed by one director. So it will be like a pyramid now. So that's why you heard in the news where people be saying the organization is top heavy. It will be having redundant directors, so that the top management, they won't be having any others won't be having proper portfolios, or and if you notice, if they are it's top heavy, efficiency is reduced because there might be duplication of tasks or redundancy channels that will be created. So it creates steady flow of information is hindered. Control by virtue of the bottom guys, by virtue of them being in contact with the core business, they need to have a lot of control and grasp of whatever it is that is being created, whatever it is that you're doing. So in our case, we said we've got a network department which does networking. So it needs to have a good control over how those things are done. So that is mainly we're moving on. We explained something called the Porter's 5 model. This just creates something called a value chain. Does anyone know what a value chain is? Value chain. Ladies and gentlemen, value chain. Do you have any lady? Let's hear female voice. Value chain. Who's the word? Philippa. Philippa. Value chain.
The weight of something.
Explain a bit.
Maybe you'll be looking at how much that thing is going to worth.
How much that thing is going to worth?
Yes.
But I thought you'd start off from a supply chain point of view. How is the supply chain different from the value chain?
Hey. From supplier.
What is an example? Anyone to assist? Anyone to assist? Supply chain, value chain.
Value chain.
Combination of systems.
Hello?
Yes, you can proceed. Edward,
Okay. I believe a value chain, it is the range of activities that take place in order for a product or a service to come into market.
Okay. So, in essence, you're saying if supply chain is from the guys digging copper to guys selling the computers to the guys using the computers.
Yes.
Okay, let me give a very good example. Do you guys know Stimpisa Holdings? Stimpisa Holdings, I'm sure everyone knows.
Yes, I'm aware of it. The creamy ins, the chicken ins, baker's ins.
So let me try and give a small perspective of supply chain. You know Pioneer Fertilizers. Stimpisa Holdings owns Pioneer. So that means there are fertilizers and seeds that come from there. So, and they own farms that they plant their seed, be it maize or wheat or whatever. Then from there, they own ivins. So they're going to take the outputs of the chemical plants and the seed plants is to make seeds and fertilizer. So they make a profit from that. Then that becomes the input for farms. And the output for farms become seed, and then it become grain. Then they own ivins. Ivins has chickens and eggs. So the grain becomes stock feed for the chickens. And when the chickens are fully grown, they're taken to Chicken Inn or Nando's, and they are sold as finished products. So you're controlling the whole chain from raw materials to finished goods. Another example could be you own a timber plantation and you have a furniture shop. You supply yourself with timber and you make you've got a workshop to make the furniture, and when you got a workshop to make the furniture, you then sell the furniture in your own shop. So you're controlling supply chain in the sense that everything that's there benefits you. So that's how you own, that's a supply chain. So now, what now becomes a value chain? Value chain.
Value chain. Okay, a value chain, it could be a process to increase the value of raw materials that can be sold to the
Raw materials. Okay, the idea of a value chain is just to create more profit, to add value to the supply chain. Whatever you do, you're adding value. If you're a small scale farmer, you create collaboration so that you've got value within that small scale collaboration that you have. So at the end of the day, it boils down to making profits. So this is why this 5-force model, Porter's 5-force model, is important. Okay, it's important because it governs how the product is going to be priced, or the profit margins, or the decisions that you take after certain events. So number one is industrial rival. Straight from your heads, which car is the biggest rival of Mercedes-Benz? Hello, Mercedes-Benz, biggest rival. I thought this was easy.
BMW.
That is obvious. It's BMW. And so that is their rival. So how about rivalry for an iPhone?
Samsung.
Right. These are very easy.
I too.
I tell you need to understand what a rival is. So I tell it's not yet, maybe in the future, but not yet. So how about MC Universe, MCU? All right, Marvel Entertainment. And I told
DC.
them DC. I thought these were really somewhat obvious. All right, let back to local, because it seems Butorina Coke, all right, biggest rival of Coke, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola. Pepsi. So, all right, biggest rival of chicken.
Chicken slice.
Yes, nice. So
Cash.
you
Future.
think. So rivalries are important, or they're there and they determine the pricing of your product. So if Chicken Inn pegs their pricing for maybe 2 piece away, and they peg it at $5, then Chicken Slice comes and pegs theirs at $1, and that is your biggest rival. Do you think Chicken Inn will continue pegging their pricing at $5? They will be forced to reduce their pricing because their competitor and their rival, their biggest rival, has got a certain price here. So that is why you discover that pricing for 2-piece and chicken in and pricing of 2-piece and chicken slice, they will be more or less the same. I gave you an example of Mercedes Benz and the BMW. C-Class, the 389, so they have more or less the same price. E-Class, maybe near 520i, would have more or less the same price. ML and X5 would have maybe more or less the same price. GLE and X6 would have more or less the same price. GLE ikaziswa AMG, BMW inenge M-Power. So it is a way of creating rivalry. Rivalry creates a healthy competition which will affect pricing. We talked about this last time. Then threat of a new entry. You are the owner of, let's say, Dodge, and next thing what's going on? Pana tsano vanonzi Tesla vari kuuya. So you see, you'll be forced, the market is forced to react. You're forced to react because they're coming, it's a new entity that's coming. You are chicken world ones, Mapinda KFC. So you're forced to react, you're forced to change your strategy and your tactic. Strategy being top level, tactics being what? Middle. Strategy is like this. Guys, we're going to invade Harare. But General Ndozo, we're going to invade Harare, we're going to come and we're going to overpower them. Then those majors and captains are the ones who are going to sit down and say, how are we going to overrun what's it called? Harare? How do we do it? Do we use the cow formation or do we use scorched earth? So everyone has got a different form. The moment you find yourself doing Uri CEO doing clerical work, there's something wrong. That should never be the case. Then the other one is threat of substitute products. You have a situation whereby you are, let's say, selling cars. All right, let's say you sell iPhones, then someone comes with an item. The substitute product, it's cheaper. Market is supposed to be whether to adopt, to adapt, or to flee. They can change their products to suit the target market, or they can just ignore it. ITEL is for lower class citizens. I'm aiming at the elite, so my prices are good. But the market reacts. Now, there is something called bargaining power and supply power. Bargaining power supply and bargaining power buyer. I have a friend of mine who's got a farm. He's got a 10-hectare farm under irrigation, and he put cabbages on that farm. And when he harvested 10 hectares, he went to Mbare Msika, could not find anything because it flooded the market. So what can we take from there? Would we have more power, the supplier or the buyer?
Bye.
The buyer.
The buyer, because the buyer is saying, I don't need your product. There are plenty of products here you supply. So what the guy ended up having to do, my cabbage akaorera muntu because akakawandisa. They couldn't do anything. Because a hectare of cabbage is just 10. He ended up having to say, guys, I don't go past cash to my cabbage. So then, can someone give us a situation whereby the supplier is bargaining power? An example where the supplier is bargaining power. Let's hear from Mishek also. Mishek. An example where supplier is bargaining power and the buyer. All right. Let me give you one example. There is blue-tailed tuna. This tuna is one of the rarest types of tuna that's in the market, be it in China or wherever. So one fish would weigh close to 110 kgs, but it's very rare. So whoever catches that tuna can dictate the prices that they want for it because it's rare. By virtue of there not being anything, the substitutions are there. You have other types of tuna and you've got other types of seafood, but they're saying the taste of this particular type of tuna is very different from the rest. So whoever has it, the supplier would have bargaining power over the buyer. Can we have another example? Someone, a willing sacrificial lamb to say, someone to give us one more example. Guys, if you don't talk, you'll be shortchanging yourself. The more you talk, the more we discuss. This is a tutorial, it's not a lecture. So give me an example.
See, another example could be the time when WhatsApp was sold to Facebook.
Okay.
Like it was the main platform that was being used at that time. So Facebook wanted that platform. So the WhatsApp guys had to name any price.
But did you notice that what's your take on the whole buying of WhatsApp from Facebook? Because remember, you bought something that was free. WhatsApp was free. And Mark Zuckerberg bought it. What is he benefiting from WhatsApp that he wanted? What is the competitive advantage of buying WhatsApp?
Sorry, come again.
WhatsApp was free. Mark Zuckerberg bought WhatsApp for a lot of money. Why?
It was replacing the text platform, the SMS platform. So it was going to be a big software.
No, but you do you understand my question?
Yeah, you're saying WhatsApp was free. Like you didn't have to do anything, download it, right?
You didn't pay for it. And Mark Zuckerberg bought it for a lot of money. The question is why?
I think it's because of the users, the number of users who are using the WhatsApp platform.
But you agree with me, Facebook was there before WhatsApp.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. Anyone? I also don't know.
In my opinion, Facebook is mainly in the business of advertising. That's where they generate most of their revenue. So I believe purchasing WhatsApp was a good move, because WhatsApp had now grown to be one of the biggest social platforms, and in that sense, it was a huge data bank for Facebook to use in their advertising and the mining of data from users. That
So
I think that's the main reason why they wanted to acquire the company.
there's little thing, there's little things on WhatsApp. Data mining part, it's a serious question. Remember, they were sued this one time for privacy.
Yes,
Saying you are mining data from my account. I didn't give consent.
yes. But now you notice that now on WhatsApp you have that option of advertising your business.
WhatsApp for business.
Yes, WhatsApp for business, and you have a lot of other features that were now added on. Like I think there's now you can actually create an in-store on a catalog where people can actually purchase directly using Facebook's payment platform.
Okay. No, it's okay. It's
In
a
some
topic for come again. Sir. All right. So that's mainly it about Porter's 5 models. So we have managerial skills. Manager should have good communication and good problem skills. Why should a manager have good communication skills? And why should a manager have good problem solving skills? Guys, talk to me.
Yeah, that's very true. A good manager must have communication skill, because most of his work is communication, relying the communication to the top management, at the same time relying that information to the lower level, that is to the supervisors, etc.
How many of you guys have played a game called Broken Telephone? Pana pakadai so pakudiwa vanhu vasiri new millennials manje. Broken Telephone.
Inini? I've
Broken
played
Telephone.
Broken Telephone.
Broken Telephone is a game. You sit around a circle and then one person whispers word to a sentence in one person's ear. Then that person whispered that same sentence or word to the other person's ear. You discover that as you get round, when you come back and you're told what you whispered by the last person, 99.99% you won't get the same thing back. If you think I'm lying, we can try it. We can have someone tell Nyamute something, then Nyamute tells Bera, then Bera tells Future, then Future tells Tawanda, and until it comes back to me, you discover chances are they have been distorted. So communication is key in the sense that when you're given a task, you need to explain exactly what the task is to your subordinates of your superiors. Imagine being asked for a report for profits and you give reports for profit of just one product. You would not be, or they'll say, let's increase the size of the bottle. and you let's say maybe by 10, and you by 10 grams or 10 millimeters, and you increase it by 100, it has got a very big cost implication in the organization if it doesn't have good communication skills. It's no cost. How about problem solving skills? Problem solving skills. Good problem solving skills. Why do managers need good problem solving skills? Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk to each other. Problem solving skills. It's okay. I can proceed. If like I said before, if you don't participate, and you only be shortchanged yourself. So the more you participate, the better. The sooner we'll get to examination tips. I'm Rukudaya. But it's fine. So
problem solving skill. Yeah, it's good for a manager to have that skill, because some of the problems that he or she faces are not structured. Meaning to say, he or she needs to be in a position to be able to come up with an idea to solve any type of problem.
that's true. That's cool. You discover that in the workplace, and they are what are called structured problems, structured decisions and unstructured decisions, and they are semi-structured decisions. Structured is if you get to the office and the door is locked, what do? You call the person. That's a structured decision. An unstructured decision is, how can I put it? Stocks, company feedback files or stock is dropping or is plummeting. How do you increase it? There's no written down way of how you can do it. So you need to come up with means of solving those problems. So this problem solving skills, and it comes into play where we're saying, how can such a problem that has arisen be solved? Because at the end of the day, problems do occur. Problems can be operational problems. There could be technical problems. There could be HR problems. You've got two employees, two of your subordinates that are not going on. They're not getting along well. What do? You need the decisions that are structured. If we get to, let's say we're making batteries. If we make 100 batteries a day, we can rest. If we fail to make 100 batteries a day, the following day we need to make 100 plus the deficit. Those are decisions that you make. So if you fail to reach a target, it becomes a problem that needs to be solved. So problems need to be solved. And so if you fail to solve problems, then there might be problems with proceeding. And one of your employees are Odi. Sha, you end up kumba. go and get a rest. Doctor, mangwana ndonzwa doctor's letter. And that's a decision. But iwewo manje ukati iwo enda iwo then kana wapedza nditi wozondiudza then from there ndozonzi what manager wangu anoti chii then after so if you delay to make a decision it won't be ideal, so to say. So we need managers who make good decisions, spot on decisions. Are we in agreement?
Yes, sir.
Top management, they've got what are called unstructured decisions because their structures, there's no written down way on how to do it. Middle management, they have got what's called semi-structured and structured, whereby yes, there's a certain component of unstructuredness in their decision making. Whereas the bottom layer, the operational layer, those of the structured. What's the meter deadline? We need to make up for lost time. But truth is okay, we're not making profit. So how do we make profit? Do we increase production? Do we diversify? Or do we create a new market? So you can't really say, there's a written down way on how we do this. So I hope there is you understand slightly what I mean by
Yeah.
Any questions? Any questions so far? If you don't have questions, I like asking questions. So when I'm told you voice so this is elements of basic problem solving. You've got a problem and there's a manager. There is the current situation that you are in right now, and there's an expected situation that should be there. Company unogadzira road murikupfuura masangano nedombo pane jack hammer iri kudiwa apa your jack hammer is not working. That's a problem. Current situation, jack hammer is kushanda apa pane dombo roda kupaswa. Expected situation, hapana dombo, jack hammer riripo riri kushanda. Alternative solution is to find dynamite and blow that, or to find picks to strike that stone. Constraints, the things that are going to hinder you from making that decision. Those things could be my financial expertise. Because if I say no, let's get dynamite, but there's no one who's qualified and licensed to use dynamite, or there's no money to buy the dynamite, or the person who is licensed with the dynamite is somewhat expensive to consult. And when you consider all of those things, then you come up with your solution. Okay, let's put it to perspective. We wanted to network, let's say, corner house or the Harara building, whatever. And in the middle of trying to network that building, we discover that the trunking is not as strong as we expected. You guys know what trunking is, huh?
Trunking?
Yes, trunking.
I don't know it.
Panogara cable yacho. Handiti cable inofamba madziro. That
Yes.
white thing, cable, that's called trunking.
Okay. I get it.
So you discover that the trunking that you have there is not very strong. That's a problem. And the building, remember, you'll be working with timelines when you finish it, when you get this project. So there's a current situation, the trunking is not strong. And what do we do? There's an expected situation in which you assumed that the trunking is strong enough to hold the cable. The alternative solution is to drill, buy, or outsource different trunking. Constraints would be the budget. But at the end of the day, the problem should be solved by the money. The manager needs to make a decision. All right, tracking yafa todi totsvaga imwe. All right, poor. Tikatsvaga imwe, what does it mean? Tikaisa iripo, what does that mean? So there are certain things that the manager has to weigh before they actually come up with a decision. So that's it about problem solving. For this very long table, which has got system, information input, processing, output, and use. What does EIS stand?
EIS stands for Executive Information System.
Executive Information System, that's right. So where does this information system sit on that management level pyramid? Remember,
on the top level.
Huh?
On the top level.
Left kwakatonyorwa user so clever. It's okay. Decision support system, set up.
Management level.
Remember, okay. Information, the TP, the operational level management gets data from employees. They process that data into information, feed that information into the level above it, which is the tactical. They get that information as data. Then they process that data, then forward it to the above layer. Then the top management, the strategic, takes that information as data, then process it into information that they use. So Parkunzi processing up, it is means of processing information input, which is the data, into information output. So Mona Pakanzi aggregate data from executive could be internal or external. Internal that they can get total number of sales or total number of profit or total number of revenue generated per year. But when they're getting it externally, they maybe someone mentioned something about data mining. You're now mining from maybe Facebook to find product review of your product. So for them, data can be obtained both externally and internally and processed, used graphics, simulations, iterative. The output of the projections or responses to queries. So I'm very short. It's not sick. So TPS stands for TPS. TPS.
Transaction processing system.
Transaction. It sits in which layer?
The bottom layer, which is the operations layer.
I know that's fine. So I'm very sure that this part,
And those are two demo exams.
Makutoda kutozvisetera exam futi.
Vana vari kuda kupasa.
People of my color, so but so what is KWS?
Knowledge-based system.
That KW and not KP.
Okay. Sorry.
No. There's an error supposed to be KB, but in your I think I'm not on one. That error is there. When you're amaverenga munotomboiona ka issue
Ndandatovhunduka kuti zvaziwe.
munotomboiona but zviri right munombopotawo muchionawo kuti zvinofamba sei. Anyway, that's okay.
Sorry.
So yes sir.
Sorry. Makashare anything about screen erase here. PowerPoint or anything.
Hapana, ndiri kuiona PowerPoint yangu. I don't know. Muri kuiona here?
Yeah, tiri kuiona.
Ndiri kuiona.
Okay, so maybe need for such challenge.
Watogadzira exam yo.
Hello?
Wagadzira internet yako usati wanyora exam.
MIS kuitira online.
Hapana, zvinhu zvese zvinoda kunyorwa online guys. So let's prepare.
Okay, thank you sir. Again,
That's fine. So what is a model? Your definition in book. What is a model? Guys, the definition here. What is a model?
A model. Toverenga here kana kuti totaura dzedu.
Yangu handisi kuda nayo. Tauraidzei, but paraphrase from mine kana zvaoma. Model. What's a model?
A model is a way of
Pamai defender imimi. Pamai defender. Maka defender ma projects kind. Ma 3-200.
I still ma 3-1.
Murma 3-1.
Say.
Murma 3-1.
Aiwa, tuma 4-1 ngabude munomu.
No. Makasiyana. MIS for software engineering, it's 4-1, but for information technology, it's 3-1.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry, ngagare munomu.
That's okay.
Yeah, ngachidzo.
So for those who defended and did ma 3-2, remember Mavata chikubvunza kuti what model did you use? You would ask this, what model did you use? What model did you use? Wakashandisa model, what model? So what's a model?
A model.
Kuverengera definition yangu da kuverengera yangu start to explain, not to explain. A model is a representative of something such as an object, a concept, a real activity, which is called an entity. The model is used to represent problems which need to be solved in a form that is easily understood. So ndaverenga. So what's a model?
Okay, a model is
What's
Go
a
ahead.
model? Yes. Model, guys. What's a model? What's a model? What's a model?
I think say a model can be anything that can be used to represent a particular scenario or an event.
We gave an example one of Wanzik Badzira inonzi the tallest building munomzimu rinonzi
Museum,
Reserve Bank.
Reserve Bank,
RBZ.
Arabizet.
So you can create a model of RBZ, a tiny plan. That's a model. Or you can have an actual small building of representing the whole building. Rangarne is equally number of floors which can fit on a table. That's a model. So what we're just trying to say is you are trying to represent something. Has anyone ever done any simulation?
Yeah, ndakamboita NS3.
Ungochitachi? There's a course in simulation and modeling where you have to make an exact representation of a real life situation. So if you're simulating, you guys have seen in movies, Panongwachita like my drug tests. They'll be simulating a problem and then they input my drugs, an antidote or something, then find out how it works. Then Kanaya Zohita, that's when they try, then they test it on humans. That is simulation. There are software that are there that simulates the model. So in our case, and we're saying you can use an object, a concept, just to simulate. You want to find out how, let's say, a chat, a WhatsApp platform, WhatsApp banking, whereby they have maybe five employees attending to clients, and depending on the nature of query, they want to find out who's more effective than someone. Then they just measure effectiveness of someone, how long on average it takes for one person to attend to clients. Then if one other person takes 2 hours, then the other person takes 30 minutes. Then they simulate that model in forms of a queue, just to see how that queue works. But okay, vanhu vakawanda, so people will be coming at random times. So that's more or less of a model. But so let me read again the types of models. There's a physical model, narrative model, graphical model, and mathematical model. Let me read again. Physical model, narrative model, graphical model, and mathematical model. So physical model, we're saying, it's a three-dimensional entity. Chinotooneka, chinobatika, like the example yandakupai yekuti NRZ building. We have a little miniature building which does exactly which acts exactly the same way as the building as a model. Or a model of a car, a toy car. You've got Bugatti Veyron and you pass this proclaimed fastest and one of the most expensive cars in the world. And you create a miniature model of it to see how, number one, you could check one, performance, two, aerodynamics, three, even what's it called, braking system and everything. So that's one of the reasons why models are there. So that's a physical model. Narrate, oh yeah, it says there, such as a house or a car. So I'm spot on. Such as a house or a car. Narrative model, and it is used by managers to explain an entity through oral and written communication. Through the explanation, the audience can understand the detail of the entity. This model is the most popular because it covers every single aspect of business communication. So can anyone give us an example of narrative model? Narrative, it simply means it's spoken, it's narrated. Don't you think this is where instructions come into play? I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, instructions, or can someone say you can actually narrate a memo with subordinates or?
Yes, you can memos, code of conduct, code of ethics, hearings, and everything that is now there. It's a representation of a model. Okay. Graphical models now. So atinoita manje systems. Njana ndina systems analysis and design panel.
The commerce.
All right. So ndipapa apa manje. Because we're saying we want to illustrate how information flows from a certain aspect of information system to another. So you can use my flow charts, my data flow diagrams, my entity relational diagrams. So that my flow charts do up manje, but that is now graphical modeling. Mathematical modeling, we're now using formulas to express my constraints and we're just using green mathematics. For example, profit is equal to sale minus cost. That is the example of a mathematical model. So we now come back to a bit of management systems now. What is an expert system? Munhu wese anofana kutaura because it was there in the assignment. Unless if you wrote a different assignment, but it was there in the assignment. Expert system. Expert system, guys. Amana Mukadaro, I will remark all your assignments. Did you check up
Okay.
We wrote an assignment on expert system. You were supposed to provide a whole label diagram of an expert system. I'm simply asking you to give me what you wrote on your assignment.
Say.
Yes, proceed, sir.
In similar terms, you can say an expert system can be a software which is used to give out expert knowledge in place of an actual human being.
That is a very, very simple definition. Thank you. Kasi zvazvakaoma here, guys. Counter musungoda kutaura nini zvenyu zvezora naso.
Yeah.
Kana tinoda so.
Good answer.
It's an expert system. We're trying to create, you guys, some of you actually did my project in my expert system. I gave you this as an assignment in my expert system. We're just trying to do away with an expert. So we're trying to create a system which mimics an expert. I thought it was quite simple. So it has got several components, this expert system.
Yes.
So those are some of the components. Yeah, an expert system. Number one, before you create an expert system, you need to know what kind of expert system you're going to. When you decide to create an expert system, you need the expert now. Expert in our case is the person who has the know-how that you want to automate. It could be a doctor, it could be a veterinarist, or it could be an agronomist, or it could be even IT technician or something. So that expert now, you need to consult with them very extensively so that you create what you call your knowledge base. Ufana kutonyatsogara pasi muchiudzana kana munhu achitema nemusoro, how do you proceed? You know literally everything zvinenge zvichida kunge zvichizikanwa. So it's very important for you to be in good books with this person, because that's where you're getting all the facts, all the knowledge from, and you create what's called a knowledge base. So nowadays there's the person who captures that is called the knowledge engineer or data scientist, whichever one you want to classify, or the analyst. But as long as the facts are captured by the person, then those facts are taken to something called the inference engine. That's where the processing takes place. So the user then communicates with the inference engine. Then after communicating with the inference engine, after communicating with the inference engine, we come up with
I
Hello.
think Zesa aenda kwa-lecturer.
Asi dzakashandisa desktop.
Yeah, dzinenge dzekushandisa desktop idzi.
Nenamba dzake padhuze tivafonere. Taura tinji.
It's 0773
Eh.
374
Eh.
229.
All right. Pane malines ada kutosa.
At least trying to prove zvekuti online exam haibude.
But guys, ndinobvunza pachinenge chinzi prepare for online exam, prepare pakuti chii?
Ndaona maexit
Zvinenge zvichinzi tsvaga kamaifi kako kana kuti kune internet iri bhoo, tsvage nelaptop inochengeta moto. Ndo zvaanenge achireva izvozvo.
Oh.
Ara?
Hello, guys.
Yes.
Hello.
Mm,
That's all now. What like connector food?
Oh,
Eh,
all right, thanks.
love me.
Yes, Mishek.
What do you say?
Tiripo ko